It is time. Let's talk about the final Hungarian Han Solo novel, Han Solo's War, written by Dale Avery. And of course, it's not just the final Hungarian Han book in general, but it's also the final of Dale Avery's trilogy specifically, because as we know, Han Solo's Nomads was a standalone. But then Imperial Agent, Han Solo and the Bounty Hunters, and now this one form basically one story. And now, talking about this final book, I kind of have to spoil a little bit what happened in the prior two, but it's fine. Trust me, it's fine. You should still read all of them. This was a very, very enjoyable journey. Okay, so Han Solo, the Imperial Agent, set things up. Han and Chewie accidentally kind of kidnapped a policeman called Scarpa, who's now part of the team, basically. He's this fun comedic relief character. They come to this planet, they join the local rebels, if you want to call them. They fight against the Empire there, but it turns out this Imperial group controlling the planet is actually under the control of the First, which is an Imperial bounty hunter with Force powers, who's kind of a dark Jedi, and he's trying to establish his own Imperial faction and take over the galaxy. And that is his first step. So Han and his crew also join up with the second best Imperial bounty hunter, Goreen Moss. They become Imperial agents themselves and have to help him track down and eliminate the First. And they basically defeat his Imperial splinter cell on this planet. That's what happens in the first book, Imperial Agent. Han Solo and the bounty hunters, they follow him. They eventually track him down. There's a lot of little twists and turns. And we learn a bit more about the First and who he is. He was a student of Darth Vader. He murdered 2 other Force users who worked for Palpatine, which is all interesting stuff. And in Han Solo and the Bounty Hunters, the prior book, we got the confrontation between the First and Goreen Moss, during which Moss was very much injured, very heavily, and he exited the story, returning to Imperial space, basically, and getting treatment, if you will. We see what happens with that in this book. And now comes the bigger spoiler. The First was defeated in the prior book. But the open plot elements where the Imperial Marl Davian, who had already been introduced in Imperial Agent, was now in control, basically, and became the new big bad guy. And at the end of Han Solo and the Bounty Hunters, Han and Chewie were captured on board his Star Destroyer. And Scarpa and another ally of Han, a engineer type called Casper, were going after them to rescue them. So a lot of stuff was set up at the end of the prior book, which is paying off in this one. We got the escape of Han and Chewie from the Imperials with the help of Scarpa and Casper, which are fun characters, very much. And we get a return of Goreen Moss after his near-death / actual death in the last book, because now Goreen Moss has been turned into a cyborg, and he's basically lost his free will, and his mission now is to eliminate everyone who knew about the First and that whole debacle. And that includes, obviously, first and foremost, Han Solo. And that is a very tragic and interesting aspect, and it's really fantastic. Goreen Moss and his story here may just be the highlight of this trilogy, in all honesty. The whole book, it is basically Han Solo's war. Everyone is now after Han. Goreen Moss, who's working for the Imperials, and Marl Davian. And obviously Marl himself still has a grudge against everyone. He's this asshole character who has a very fun twist that I'm going to spoil in just a second, because it's amazing. Also, we get another female love interest for Han, which is fun. He had one in Nomads, in Imperial Agent, then not in Bounty Hunters, but now here we have another one. And she's very interesting. Lamia, I think is her name, and she's kind of a bounty hunter type. She's working for the Imperials. She's supposed to infiltrate Han's little group. That's fun. And then, I'm not going to spoil what happens with that, but it's good stuff. And we get even callbacks and mentions of the previous girls in Han's life from those prior Hungarian books. Fun stuff. We also get cameos on that note. We get cameos by movie characters. One of which I'm going to spoil because it's fine. It's Boba Fett. And it works. It's actually well done. I don't have complaints there. I think Boba as a character, for the short amount that he's in here, is depicted well. The book is kind of unclear, intentionally wishy-washy if Han actually knows Boba, which is good. That's fine. It's not directly stated that they never met and he has no idea who it is. That's okay. And then the second cameo, I'm not gonna spoil who it is. I mean, one other one we have in here is Jabba for a little bit, but that's fine. But the other big movie character who appears in this was so actually shocking. I hadn't heard about this before. And it legitimately surprised me. I will not spoil it, but holy shit, it worked. And that was the most surprising part. That cameo, if I just told you right now, would sound really stupid, but in the context of the story and the character work, it works. It works perfectly fine. And before we go into the big spoiler with Marl Davian, I just want to say, this book also ends really setting up the events of the original trilogy, if you will, with Han and what he's gonna do there. Because another big plot element of this is that Marl Davian, this is not a spoiler, it has been set up since Imperial Agent that Marl is a young Imperial officer who has some level of Force powers. And he has certain feelings and visions that become helpful. And in this book, he has a vision of the events of Return of the Jedi and the Battle of Endor. Like, he knows about Vader and Palpatine dying and that Han Solo is going to play a big part. And that's part of his motivation in this, to get Han. And it sounds like it shouldn't work. Like, in any other book this would annoy me, because this is a prequel about Han and it's already setting up, that he's going to become this very important figure. But somehow it works. I'm not annoyed by this. And it may just be, it's only Marl who knows about it, and I have to talk about Marl now and spoil it. So you are warned. Read this book. It's fantastic. I love the Hungarian Han Solo books. Specifically Dale Avery's trilogy, it's better than Brian Daley's. I am very sorry, but I enjoyed reading these books much, much more than reading dailies. Okay, now the spoiler. Marl Davian, as it turns out, first off, his full name is apparently Marlon, which we only learn in this book in one line, where he's called Marlon, out of nowhere. And I don't know if that's the author making a typo. It is in the original Hungarian text, so I have no idea. His real name is Marl Palpatine. And he's the son of the Emperor. And it's hilarious. It's fantastic. I love it. This was 1992, so around the same time as Jedi Prince. And you have these authors, completely unaware of each other, just coming up with the same plot idea, and I love it. Marl is a great character on his own. He works very well as an antagonist, even before the Palpatine reveal. The reveal is just extra fun, and it's so insane with his backstory as well, because he was born not that powerful in the Force. Palpatine was pissed. He murdered the mother right after the childbirth and gave Marl to a senator called Davian who despised Palpatine, and he just forced him to raise his son as his own, which is just hilarious. That's a very Palpatine thing to do. I was already spoiled that this was going to be a plot element, but it still worked. It's fantastic, it's hilarious, I love it. I absolutely loved it. And I would very highly recommend Han Solo's War. This is just a great final book, and not much else to say. I'm really loving these Hungarian Han novels. In all honesty, I wish they wrote more, because this is just really fucking entertaining. The plots are kind of insane, but at the same time, you can't say this is more insane than like the Bantam era. This is a bit less restrained in some areas, I guess, but like Han as a character and stuff, that is still nailed. The comedy, the action, the pacing, all of that is still excellent. I mean, the big thing in these books is just there's casual swearing, which obviously you wouldn't get in the official novels, but it's just fantastic, and I wish there were more not US Star Wars books, like unofficial, just publishers saying, fuck it, we're just gonna write our own stuff, it would be fantastic. And I mean, after these Han books, there is one more Hungarian novel, which is a very special case, which I may talk about in one video, but I think reading it on a live stream is the better idea. Which is The Power of the Jedi by Malcolm Webster, which is an unofficial sequel to Heir to the Empire before Dark Force Rising was released. That one really is a cynical cash grab, but it's pretty hilarious. I highly recommend that one as well.